Lee, there's big things happening between Russia and Ukraine. Basically, Trump has threatened to go away and kind of, not do anything. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, Jason. Thanks for asking.
What does Trump mean when he says we're going to walk away? He's just going to let Russia destroy Ukraine?
Well, it's basically,
Lee, there's big things happening between Russia and Ukraine. Basically, Trump has threatened to go away and kind of, not do
Jason,
anything.
I'm hearing you.
How you doing? Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Sorry about that, Lee.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. So basically, like Steve Bannon, my old boss, who I'm not a big fan of, has been saying something pretty smart for months now. He's been saying he thinks the U.S. needs to, Trump in particular, is to walk away from Ukraine. Needs to basically say, it's not my mess, not my problem, and step away. Because otherwise, he's going to get drawn into the war. You see, he doesn't want to see Trump do the same thing LBJ did. And basically take a mess of a war that he did not create and take the fall for it. You follow me?
I do, and it seems like a very dangerous possibility.
Yeah, no, it depends how you define danger. Don't forget, I will, on this episode, I'm going to go over why Ukraine is evil. Ukraine is not the good guys. They're the bad guys. I want to talk about that because it's very important. A lot of people, actually, Trump himself kind of takes his view, is that if he were in president, like when he talks about Crimea, let's take Crimea for instance.
Mm-hmm.
He says basically, Obama didn't handle Russia in 2014. He should have stopped them from taking over Crimea. Now, that's totally wrong in my opinion, and I'll go over why as we go on this show. But I don't think that Obama should have stopped Russia. I don't think why he didn't is irrelevant actually to my point. But Obama did not stop Russia from taking Crimea in. But the reason he shouldn't have is because Crimea is part of Russia, and the Nazis in Ukraine are important. And the Nazis, I'm going to say that because recently Putin said, look, do you ever hear Trump talk about the Nazis in Ukraine?
Not really. No.
Right. You never hear that.
Mm-mm.
And you never hear any U.S. politician. In fact, even Tucker Carlson, who interviewed Obama, you can find it. There's a quote by him. I can't tell you how to find it.
Interviewed Putin, you mean? Yeah, he laughed about Nazis in Ukraine.
Yeah, and he said afterwards, he said, I don't like when he says Nazis.
But because my impression of what Tucker was saying is that he felt that Putin was using the term Nazi the way Antifa uses the term Nazi, to just call any evil person or any person you disagree with a Nazi. Putin was saying that they are actual Nazis, and I believe that you and I agree with that.
I think you do.
Yes.
If you don't, you absolutely will by the time we finish today, because I'm going to go over why the Ukrainians are evil Nazis and why we live in an alternate universe. May I explain?
Yes, please. I'm excited. I was going to say, that sounds like an exciting, we're going through the wormhole into another dimension to an alternate universe. Lee, take us there.
Now, here's the thing. I live in an alternate universe. Let me explain. So, did you see Philip K. Dick's Man in the High Castle when it was a TV series?
I did, about the Nazis winning World War II and inventing the Concorde and buying Japanese stuff in San Francisco.
That's right. And so, the Man in the High Castle is a famous Philip K. Dick novel, and it was made into what is it, Netflix?
Yeah, HBO, Netflix, something like that.
Something like that, a series. And basically, it shows a universe like where San Francisco is like San Francisco, right?
Yes.
But except flying the flag on Nazis, right?
I
mean,
like that kind of stuff, like the what if Marvel comics, where it's an alternate possibility.
Yeah, it's an alternate universe. And so I live in that.
Oops, Lee, I think you're living in the alternate universe of frozen internet. We'll wait a second because that happened before when we were getting ready. And then Lee came back after a moment. But we can just look briefly at this man in the high castle. Lee, you back? You're
Yeah,
back.
okay. So imagine, Jason, if you went to sleep and you woke up, okay, and you were where you went to sleep, your apartment or wherever, everything looked normal, but you went out and put on TV and you saw like Nazi flags, and you saw Hitler hosting a documentary and stuff like
Right.
that, and we're going, wait, it looks like my universe, but not. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And imagine you saw on the TV people were having a parade and holding up signs of Hitler, and they're having a parade, a big parade in Berlin to praise Hitler. And you're sitting with someone like your friend who was with you when you went to sleep, and you woke up and they're watching and they're not freaked out. They're not
Yeah.
going, "Why is there a Hitler parade?" No, it makes sense so far.
Yep.
Okay, so and you're freaked out, and you said, "Let me get my iPad and talk to AI." So you get ChatGPT on, and you go, "Who is Hitler?" And ChatGPT said, "Hitler's a complex character he was a leader of Germany during the Great War of Iron, liberation,
Right.
and Hitler's somewhat complex." And you're like, "What? What? Hitler's complex?" You're like, when I went to sleep, Hitler was evil.
Right.
And I woke up and he's complex. Well, sound like an science fiction, right?
Yeah, Philip K. Dick does a lot of good stuff. Didn't he write Blade Runner?
Yes, he did. He wrote "Do Androids Dream of
Right.
Electric Sheep," which
Yeah.
is what Blade Runner is based on.
Yeah.
So, what I'm describing is the world now. Let me explain. What happens every January 1st, Jason?
New Year's Eve.
Yes, and in Ukraine, every year, they're, including this year, right now, a few months ago, now, like this time frame, there's a huge parade for Stepan Bandera, and
Oh, I
people
didn't
holding up
know that.
signs of him.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to YouTube and type in 2025 Ukraine Bandera parade, I'll bet you find a couple of videos of that.
You know what, though,
Okay.
Lee? Let's watch those during the sponsor exclusive segment. That way people will watch us on patreon.com/Stranahan and also on Subscribestar and Patreon/Crowdsource the Truth. Because if we start showing YouTube videos here, they'll just try to jam the YouTube video. But it's what is it? The Tiki March in Ukraine or the Banderas March?
Well, it's the same thing. The torches at Charlottesville were based on something the Nazis do, okay? And the Banderites do that too. They do a Tiki Torch March every January 1st to celebrate Stepan Bandera. And there's huge crowds of people holding pictures of Bandera up.
Wow.
Now, see, here's the thing. If me and the average person, most people, saw people holding a picture of Bandera, what would the average person say?
Wouldn't know who it is.
Right. It just looks like, okay, it's a
Some
bald guy.
Ukrainian guy. Yeah.
It's a bald guy. But you can also look up Bandera and find out he's a killer who's involved in as a Nazi collaborator. And in fact, if you were to ask ChatGPT right now about him, they would use that. They would say he's a controversial figure. They wouldn't say he's evil. They'd say Bandera is a controversial figure. And if you ask him, why is he controversial? He said, some people believe he's the Ukrainian freedom fighter. Now, that's true, but if I say someone's a patriot, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason they're a patriot matters. So if I say, there's Joe and Jim, okay? Joe thinks that America is great because the Constitution, the founding fathers, that set up a system that's brought a lot of freedom and diversity of ideas and stuff like that. That's one view.
Yeah.
And the other guy thinks it's great because white people started it.
Got it.
No, I'm serious. I mean, those reasons, they're not the same, right? Being a patriot because white people started it is racist. I mean, it is. And it's a weak, shallow reason. I hate racism because it's stupid. That's why I don't like racism.
Very
It's stupid.
narrow-minded. Yeah.
Also, what's the most obvious thing? Like, why do I like someone? Well, let's see what color skin they have.
Right. No, their personality.
Right. And so, that's a Nazi characteristic. Nazis are racist, and
Yep.
that's. I mean,
Eugenicists, really, right? They not just racists; they want to kill and destroy other races to purify, as they call
Well,
it.
I wouldn't say. Yes, I agree, but I would put the cause first of racism. In other words, you get eugenicists out of racism. So once you establish they're racist, then eugenics makes sense. You see what I'm saying? It's
Follows.
logically
Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah.
So why is Bandera and the people who are Ukrainian nationalists, why are they Ukrainian nationalists? What is it about Ukraine? Is it they like Ukraine's constitution?
Oh, no, the pure Slav, right? They want everybody to be.
Exactly right. And the reason that they hate Russians is because they view Russians as mutts.
Right, mongrels, they even say.
That's right. And they're not subtle about this. Banderas will say that. In fact, you used to be able to find videos on YouTube pretty frequently of Ukrainian Nazis saying mongrels.
Yep.
Jews and Poles, they also view as mongrels. And they view Ukrainians as pure Slavic blood.
Right.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I'm saying that racism is central is because you can't understand a bunch of things that are going on in Ukraine without understanding that. Like Crimea right now, we'll come back to our current conflict. One of the big points of contention between Ukraine and Russia is, and basically Putin's saying it very clearly, is Crimea. The Trump administration is proposing to basically say, okay, Crimea is part of Russia, right? That's the
He said it. Trump has said it kind of to Zelensky, hasn't he? It's like, forget it.
He has.
You're not getting it back.
He has, but again, I'm saying Trump's writing his conclusion, but not, he doesn't understand why the Ukrainians. And Zelensky said basically, no way, I'm not going to give this up. It's because after the 2014 Maidan Revolution, they were talking explicitly about going and killing millions of basically ethnic Russians in Crimea and the Donbass. This is why they were killing them. And they weren't subtle about it. They were saying, we have to kill millions of people.
Who was saying
Russians,
that? Was it Zelensky? Who said that? Or that leader of the Azov battalion or something?
like the Azov battalion, basically the Banderas.
Oh, yeah, those meetings. They had some meeting at the hotel where that guy was screaming and going crazy that you had a video of.
No, but also there's a video I played. I talked to my friend Andrei Chelzenko. When I started studying Ukraine, I would see things. I didn't speak Ukrainian, still don't. So I was told that here's a guy on TV saying we may have to go kill millions of Ukrainians. Okay, I saw that in a documentary, but I had no way of verifying it, right? If like, you see what I'm saying? I don't speak
Yeah.
Ukrainian, so I don't
Right.
know what the guy's
You're
saying.
taking
It's
somebody's
just
word for it, kind of.
right. So when I met Andre and being friends with him, I said, I want to play a clip for you. Is this guy really saying we're going to go and kill the Ukrainians? And Andre watched the clip, and he hadn't seen it before. And Andre kind of like, I could see his expression. It's kind of like, whoa. He's kind of like, oh, yeah, that's what he's saying.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? You see my point here?
Yeah.
I saw it on Andre's face.
Right.
You know,
So he wasn't
it was,
joking around. He had a reaction.
it was kind of like if you heard this video of me saying, we got to go and kill all the Jews. We
Right.
got to slit their throats, kill their babies. And you didn't believe it because you know me. But then
Right.
you saw it.
Did
and you
Andre know
saw,
the guy who was speaking?
what's that?
Andre knew the guy who was speaking in the video?
He didn't know him personally, but he knew who he was.
Uh-huh.
He,
Got
he
it.
was a very famous Ukrainian politician.
Wow.
And and I kind of saw Andre change up until that point, because don't forget, Andre had fought in Maidan.
Yeah,
Okay,
he says that openly now, that his eyes were opened and he eventually realized that he was supporting the evil side, and now he doesn't
right,
do that anymore.
right. And so, if you saw that video of me talking about killing Jews, for instance, you wouldn't be doing a show with me next week, right?
Correct.
I mean, but you also kind of be personally,
You'd be shocked. It's not the type of thing you would expect to see. I mean, if the guy's a known politician and he's going on TV saying that we're going to kill the ethnically Russian, because see, the thing that's so crazy, Lee, is that it's almost like, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Louisiana, but there's this whole like ARCLA text where it's like the conglomeration of Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas. And the thing is, the culture, the people, you're going to have cousins and friends. So if like these regions get into wars, Ukraine is loaded up with Russians. It's like you can't tell, and Russia has a lot of Ukrainians living there.
yeah. But people often understand that bit. They don't get the hatred is racist. In
Right,
other words, they think Ukraine and Russia don't get along because they fought in World War.
right. Oop, we just lost you, Lee. Yeah, I think Lee's got a little bit of a rough internet situation going on there. I'm here in my Kremlin office. We should get Lee back any moment. He has the ability to just log back in. But people should definitely get onto patreon.com/Stranahan. It's a good opportunity to sponsor Lee, support his work. Lee's just gotten out of the hospital, so I know he would appreciate your support and sponsorship. He's got posts on there and he's working on all kinds of stuff. I think we should have Lee back just in a moment. Let me see if he's logging in there. I don't know. Who knows what's going on with his internet, but thanks to everyone who is already sponsoring the show. And I think we should have Lee back any moment. Andrei Telezhenko is a good guy. I haven't heard from him in a little while. Is your internet okay? It's always difficult, the internet, when it doesn't want to cooperate. It's a cruel mistress, that internet. But we can't live without it. Let's take some questions while we're waiting for Lee to return. What do people think will happen? People say it looks like I'm at Mar-a-Lago. Yeah, I'm trying to keep the backgrounds, relevant to the topic. I just told AI to make me a Kremlin office. I hope, it says frozen. Well, I guess can you get back on? He's got an internet problem. Well, yeah, we'll just give him another couple minutes here. Yeah, okay, he's coming back, I think. 38 Olympics, right? Wasn't that, that was the first television broadcast, I believe, was Hitler at the Olympics in 1938. Amazon Prime was where that show was, exactly, right, not Netflix. I remember watching that. It was good. The Man in the High Castle. I don't know. I hope Lee can come back on here. Internet is always vexing. People saw I was having, well, on this trip, did we have a problem on this trip? Maybe in one of the hotels. I don't even remember. He says he can get back on, but I don't see him getting in. We'll give it another few minutes. Does anybody have any questions in the chat here? People are saying great info. Thank you. Yeah, Lee does. He's studied this topic for a while. He knows a lot. How is everybody doing here on Odyssey? Thanks to everybody who's watching on Odyssey. They're going to be getting there. There he is. Okay. Good to have you back, Lee.
Yes, sorry, Jason.
Okay.
So anyway, I think understanding this point about the Nazis in Ukraine is absolutely crucial. You don't understand anything that's going on. And by the way, let me point out that Charlottesville.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's one issue. So many issues relate to this topic, too. Because we know for a fact Nazis who trained in Ukraine were in Charlottesville.
Wow. Can I ask you something about that Charlottesville thing, Lee? Somebody told me maybe yesterday on Twitter that Mike Benz participated in this, holding a tiki torch, and, you know, that's the Nazis who were holding the tiki torches, weren't they? Mike Benz is Jewish, as far as I know. Do you know anything about that?
Well, what I know is I don't no longer trust Mike Benz.
But is that true that he was in there?
See, I don't know if he was holding a tiki torch. I've never seen any proof of that. But I do know he used a pseudonym called the Frame Game. I don't know he's worked with Nazis.
What?
He spoke at their events and stuff like that.
Wow.
And
why the hell would he do that?
Well, here's why I don't trust him. If we're as simple as him being a Nazi, that's one thing. But he's a guy associated with Nazis who worked for the State Department.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I don't trust him.
I don't trust him either.
And so I believe Charlottesville was a setup.
I agree. And you got lawfared as a result of that.
I got sued. Along with Alex Jones and Jim Hoff from Gateway Pundit. I was sued by Brendan Gilmore, the guy who shot the video. And I said nothing wrong. I'll stand by everything I said. I was opposed to Charlottesville, you know, and behind the lawsuit was Soros, who's, by the way, a major funder of Ukraine.
Wait, say that again? The what of the lawsuit?
What say again?
What did you say about? You said something. The sponsor of the lawsuit, or the what? I missed what you just said about the lawsuit.
I have the legal team that represents the guy who sued me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the legal team was all Soros-backed people. I could tell that right away. And so, in the discovery, they asked for everything I'd ever said about Soros.
Really? Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's right.
Lee, we're almost out of time here, but we're going to continue the conversation on patreon.com/Stranahan. It's also going to be simulcast on subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. People are already sponsoring on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth. Of course, we'll get to see it. Unfortunately, right now, Odyssey can't process new payments, so people can also go to crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. But Lee, stay with me, and we will be back in less than 5 minutes. We'll carry on this conversation just after this.